If I'm sitting on the table in front of a developer or a seller to negotiate, how do I not sound stupid?
When you clearly tell yourself, अगर सौदा नहीं हुआ तो मेरे पैसे मेरे पास, अगले की जगह उसके पास.
How do I know that the broker is the right broker in this deal?
There is no case study on what is the right broker and what is the wrong broker. A broker is your reference point, he better be good. All this comes with the research, and when the research happens, you know the right price, which will give this project a logical end and give you a decent amount of the money.
Okay, Vijay, in the first episode, we discussed why real estate is a good investment. Second, we discussed how to find the right property. Now, let's come down to brass tacks, which is negotiation. How to negotiate and the subtle art of negotiation.
So, my first ever negotiation skill was understood through my mom. So, my mom sometimes used to pick me up from school and en route home, वो कभी बाजियां खरीद लेती थी. वो स्टीरियोटिपिकल नेगोशिएशन होती थी. उनकी क्वेश्चंस भी स्टीरियोटिपिकल, भैया के आंसर भी स्टीरियोटिपिकल. तो पहला क्वेश्चन होता था, भैया क्या आपकी भाजियां अच्छी है? वो कहे हाँ अच्छी है. वन स्टेप ओवर, गो टू टेक 2. भैया कितने के? 10 रुपए. कहे नहीं, हम तो 5 रुपए ही देंगे. चलो नेगोशिएशन नंबर स्टेज 2. थर्ड, थोड़ा करी पत्ता हरी मिर्ची डाल देना. भैया भी खुश, मम्मी भी खुश. सबको लगता है वी हैव कंप्लीट कंट्रोल ऑन द स्किल ऑफ नेगोशिएशन एंड वी हैड अ हैप्पी डील. सब चले जाते थे. व्हाट आई टुक बैक फ्रॉम देयर इज कि नेगोशिएशन मैंडेटरी है हर सौदे में नेगोशिएशन मैंडेटरी है. लेकिन ये नेगोशिएशन नहीं थी. सो this is what I understood we shouldn't be doing. And this is what most first time investors do. Builder 100 कहेगा तो 50 कहते हैं. This is not fashion street or fort. जीन्स वाला तुमको बोले 50 रुपए की जीन्स, आप 25 बोल दो उसको. So that was stereotypically what negotiation was all about everywhere. But that is not what negotiation is all about. Not especially when you go to buy real estate.
So if I'm sitting on the table in front of a developer or a seller to negotiate, how do I not sound stupid? What to do that make me sound a little smart?
देखो, पहले तो in your mind आपने 3 चीजें ध्यान रखनी है. Very important. There are 3 important things you need to have in your mind. Number 1, your face has to be content. How does that happen? When you clearly tell yourself, अगर सौदा नहीं हुआ तो मेरे पैसे मेरे पास, अगले की जगह उसके पास. You will automatically get a content face.
What is a content face?
That you'll have to see a Buddha's murti to understand. But something like you're carefree. You're happy if this deal happens, and you're happy if it doesn't. So just be calm. There are 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's an indication from Mother Nature कि 2 सुनो एक ही बोलो. Always listen first. Let him have his say. Let the seller have his say. Number 2, in your mind, you need to understand very clearly that just like I said, there should be a content face. In your mind, you need to understand very clearly that even if it doesn't happen, it does not matter. And last but not the least, if at any point of time it gets into a war of egos where you need to, try to show your one-upmanship in terms of ego, you should learn how to get up and say sorry. क्योंकि मेरा पैसा मेरे पास, उसकी जगह उसके पास. So with this thumbnail, if you go on a table, whether you win or you lose, you will always win. To my knowledge, a deal which leaves both parties slightly sour. And remember what I say. You may disagree with this, now, but when you sleep over it, you'll understand. A deal that goes slightly sour in taste for both parties will be the deal which will eventually see the light of another day. On the table, no one is paying no one all the money. It's probably a verbal yes or a token. But any of the parties feels that I have been fooled or I don't think I've done the right thing, will back off the next day. And here, the developer and the buyer, or the buyer and the seller, and the broker collectively are important. There is no point advocating a deal which is one sided. It will 99.9% turn around the next day. It's best a deal is closed with slight bitterness in your mouth and mine. Those are the deals that go through.
So if I am a first time buyer, how do I know that the broker is the right broker in this deal?
So broker is your representative. I mean, there is no case study on what is the right broker and what is the wrong broker. A broker is your reference point. He better be good. You have to have enough meat on him. He's an erstwhile friend. He's a strong reference. He is part of the local fraternity. He has done a lot of deals. He understands the business. He cannot at any time be a builder's man. That faith you need to inculcate before subliming to him. The price points of the neighboring setups, neighboring infrastructure, old structures, new structures, under construction structures. It's very easy to find this out. It's best to knock the doors of the neighbors and figure out what's going on in the neighborhood in terms of price. घाई का काम शैतान का, जो भगवान कराए वो धीरे धीरे. The slow is the new fast. Keep doing it. No one's, like I always say, मेरा पैसा मेरे पास, उसका सौदा उसके पास, उसकी जगह उसके पास. So you always remember that when you go on a deal. There's no rush to get into it. And the moment someone tells you, sir, ये मेरा last unit है, आपको लेना है ले, नहीं लेना है ले दो, तुरंत हाथ जोड़ना सीख जाओ. You don't want to be party to.
So I was going to ask this: when do I decide कि ठीक है, this is all I had, and this is either the time to get up and leave or agree to what सामने वाला is saying?
So once you have your facts correct, it's not difficult to ascertain the price of this project.
Yeah.
You need to have an upward, northward trajectory for yourself. You need to figure out how much is that in your mind. I always tell you all that when you do an under construction investment or under construction purchase, please go to a solid building in the neighborhood which is ready, new. What is it quoting? What did it last sell at? And what are you getting at? So what do you in all probability feel the upside of this particular demographic location can be? Where can it go? These days it's very, life is very kind, RERA is very kind. You understand what elevations are supposed to come. They can't change the elevations unless they have permissions, etc. It's not easy these days. So what they show is what you get. So just see them, understand the architect, figure out about the architect, his skill set. All those boards are readily available on the project. You don't, earlier these things used to not happen. It's the due diligence in my terms is very easily understood these days. A, the developer profile, the developer and his strength in the neighborhood. B, the architect, his skill set, the amount of buildings he's made. Now there are two architects, one that license with the government, it's not of our concern, but the conceptualization architect is critical. What is his taste as a conceptualizer? Just like a movie, there's a producer and a director. The architect is the director. The producer is the builder. Builder's job is to fund, okay? Give his eye view, be an advocate of the project. But the architect is the authority on the project, both from the statutory part and the conceptualization part. Understand who's the architect. See what he charges. It's very easy to find all of this. See what he has done. Go to his website. And if your taste is aligned with his, then you'll just be in a better space. Then you don't mind paying a little more extra to pamper your taste buds. If you are someone who likes boho and I am someone who likes Scandinavian, तो वो interiors बनेंगे कैसे as husband and wife, right? So we need to be aligned on the taste. So these little researches will always help you on the table. And at the end of the day, I have also noticed one more thing with due respect to the salaried class. They're modest people, right? The biggest expenditures they do is probably go to the mall and buy a Gucci or a Louis Vuitton, right? A 30-year-old, what is your most expensive thing you bought? I'm sure you might have bought your home. मैं इतने lecture देता हूँ आपको घर तो खरीद ही लिया होगा अभी तक. You might have been completely enticed, Lord. You bought your house, but beside that, usually what's the most expensive
Maybe
thing?
my phone, maybe
iPhone 1.5 lakh रुपया या a Louis Vuitton 2-3 lakh रुपया. If life is kind, maybe an Hermes 5-7 lakh.
Yeah, or a car
or a holiday at the end of it. So the tops you have gone is 15 to 20 lakh rupees on a car, or a 5 to 10 lakh rupees to a US holiday. Beyond that, you've not spent. When you are buying a car, a 50,000 rupee discount on a 15 lakh rupee car is 3%.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're buying a house of 1 crore rupees, 50,000 rupees is nothing but 0.5%.
Yeah.
So at that table where everything else falls in place, you don't need to leave that negotiation for 50,000. You have to understand the weight of that 50,000 in front of that 1 crore. That's what I always say. That if all things are constant, there is no harm bending backwards. But if you don't get the vibe, there is nature, and I really believe in it. Okay, I believe in math. I believe in logic. I believe in all this humanly possible researches we do before going there. But I also believe that nature gives you indicators. And this can again happen when you go with a content face and a convinced mind and a satiated mind. When you go there, nature tells you, you're not getting the vibe. कई बार आप किसी के घर जाते हो ना, बोलते बना तो अच्छा था, लेकिन it was not what I feel. I was feeling a little claustrophobic. ठीक उसी तरह, there is nature. You get the sound. You don't get the vibe. Take a break. There is no problem. We talk scarcity, but still there is enough availability that in the next few days you may most happily be sitting in another negotiation doing a better deal. So look up to that if at all. But if all the parameters fit, a 1 or 2% here or there, give yourself that leeway and get it. हमेशा खरीदने जाते हो तो महंगाई खरीदते हो, यही सोच होती है. Until you sell it and you feel happy कि यार ये तो बहुत अच्छा किया मैंने. So be positive with all these parameters.
I think this is the right time for you to tell us a good anecdote or a story of your negotiation that you were happy about, or something that we could learn from.
So I was told on a certain day, very strange accident I went through once, and I successfully drew opportunity out of it, and of course made money. It was a rainy day, and I had gone to meet a friend. काफी पानी भर गया था, घर के पास में एक कॉफी शॉप था, और suddenly the day became overcast and a lot of water, and you know how kabhi Bombay comes to a standstill. And I was passing, and a broker colleague of mine was standing there and with a flat face. So I told him, "Bare bhai, I can't take names, but bola, bare bhai, kya hua?" And he said, "Client आया नहीं है देखने को, और सेलर को मैंने चाबी लेके कांदेवली से बुला लिया है, और वो बेचारा यहाँ आ गया, पानी भरा हुआ है. आई एम फीलिंग बैड, वेरी बैड." की तो कई बार ऐसा होता है, and I want to quote unquote on this dice that कई बार हम चले जाते हैं ऐसे डमी बन के, क्या करें, माहौल तो बचाना है ना, सिचुएशन बचाना है. तो मैंने कहा चल मैं चलता हूँ, उससे देख लेंगे और कहेंगे यार अच्छा करे, पर अपने बजट के बाहर है, या अगर ठीक नहीं है. बोला भाई मेहरबानी कर मेरे ऊपर, ये तो मेरा रिस्पेक्ट रह जाएगा. वो सेलर बहुत दूर से बरसात में पजामे ऊपर करके आया है. सो टू मेक द सेलर फील गुड, कोई झूठ जिससे 2 आदमी का भला होता है वो झूठ नहीं होता है, राइट. ऐसे किसी महात्मा ने बोला था. तो ये ब्रोकर और वो सेलर दोनों का भला हो रहा था. दैट डे वाज गोइंग टू बी साइंड ऑफ वेल इफ आई वेंट अप. तो मैंने ऊपर चले गया, मैंने कहा यार. सो दिस वाज वेरी स्ट्रेंज, बट द गुड समैरिटन मी वाज ओनली ट्राइंग टू हेल्प. Limited to that, I have to say no and come back, and everybody feels good.
Yeah.
And the pinch of salt, the seller puts his pajamas back up and goes in the rain home. तो जब मैं ऊपर गया तो the seller was very humble and he was in a very bad situation. He had a loss. Now, I'm not anti any asset class, but he had lost a lot of money in stock market.
Yeah.
Not something I've not heard before, you've not
Yeah.
heard before. Stock market ने कई बिलियनर्स क्रिएट करे, पर कई सत्तू भी पिटवाए हैं, कई लोगों को क्लीन बोल्ड भी किया है. With respect to that module, वो आदमी ने genuinely स्टॉक मार्केट में बड़ा दिवालिया पीटा था and he desperately needed the money. जगह कुछ 1.25 करोड़ की थी, मेरे ध्यान में आता है. I'm not too sure, काफी टाइम पहले की बात है.
Which area was this in?
I think it was in Santa Cruz. Yeah.
Okay.
Pin code was 54. Okay. Old building थी. Poised to go for redevelopment like every other in that area. मैंने कहा ठीक है, चलो मैं ऊपर चलता हूँ. It was 3 floors without lift.
Yeah.
तो मैं ऊपर गया और सेकंड फ्लोर से जोर जोर से ब्रीथ करना स्टार्ट कर दिया. माहौल बनाने के लिए, ना बोलना था तो आपको माहौल बनाना पड़ता है. तो वी आर गुड एट इट. 20 साल हो गए यार. सो मैंने कहा यार देखो, घर तो अच्छा है पर मेरी औकात ही नहीं है इस चीज की. आई वॉज नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दिस. आप 1.30 या कुछ मांग रहा था, वो 1.20 1.30 इफ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन. मैंने कहा यार मेरी बजट बिल्कुल 80 की है. तो कहे 80 कैसे दे सकते, ये एरिया में होता ही नहीं है. मैं बोला मुझे माफ कर देना, बट मेरी बजट नहीं है. और मेरे को कहा गया 1 bedroom है, तो 1.5 bedroom बना दिया आपने, तो आई डोंट थिंक आई विल बी एबल टू टेक इट. ओके, आई स्टार्टेड गोइंग आउट. कहे कुछ पानी चाय. मैंने नहीं यार, बस ठीक है. मैंने मन में सोचा कि मेरे ब्रोकर भाई का काम हो गया, लेट अस जस्ट मूव नाउ, यू नो. आई स्टार्टेड मूविंग आउट. ही हेल्ड माय हैंड एंड ही सेड, सर आई एम इन डायर स्ट्रेट्स and I don't know why I'm feeling you'll be able to help me. And in my heart, there were two things very clear. I was not going to help him. And even if I wanted to, I didn't have the money. At that point of time, I was thoroughly invested and I didn't have the money. So there was no question. So I stepped back and I said, I'm so sorry, but I don't think the sound that you are getting is right. I'll not keep you in the dark. मेरा strength 80 के ऊपर का नहीं है. And I started stepping down when he said, थोड़ा आप बढ़ा लो, मैं देख लूंगा. I said, नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं. Sorry, thank you very much. And I walked down. As the rain subsided, 1 or 2 days में पानी उतर गया, सब अपने अपने काम पे लगे. The broker called me again and I told him, yeah. So he said, that buyer wants to meet you again. So I told him, listen man, I don't want to buy. What will I go again and do? So he said, for the sake of my respect, you please come back again and hear him out. चलो, let us go and hear him out, you know. तो मैं चले गया उसको सुनने को. तो कहे, I am in deep trouble and I really need the money and you have to help me. So I said, I told you I don't have the budget, you know. So you can't, expect anything from me. And I'm sorry. Now I'm genuinely sorry. I'm feeling for you. But I can sympathize with your situation, right? I cannot suffer for it. Where will I get the money? So, nahi, you have to do something. Thoda bada lo. So, just to make him, appease him, you know, over there, I said, 80 का मैं क्या करूँगा sir? मैं 90 कर लूँगा और क्या करूँगा? I can't do more than that. नहीं, मेरा request है, अगर आप देखो कुछ 1 करोड़ तक कर दो. And I knew that the property was in and around 130, 140, and this guy was not getting anybody. See, when it breaks and it becomes a new building, the plot was an ambitious plot. You could probably see distance, sea, etc. But the good thing was that from a buyer's perspective, that he was not getting a buyer, and that was certain. He was already selling 5-10 lakhs cheaper than the market, which I had realized on the first day, but I had no bandwidth. Like I said, you know, औकात तो अपने को पता होनी चाहिए. And then I think this was the first and last time I went, second time and the last time I went beyond my capacity and strength. But when he said 1 crore, it really made my antenna come up, you know, and I said, this is an opportunity. And this is where I can, you know, take this informed risk. Let me understand how I can go back home, borrow some money, bank, otherwise, and fit it in, because I'm getting a huge gap, right, from the market, 30, 40 lakh rupees. And I said, so such situations do knock your doors if you're patient, right? We are from the age where cricket was test match for 5 days. The idea was sitting there on the pitch and not getting out. Scoring was not important. This new culture of instant gratitude has actually messed up a lot of things.
2020.
The 2020. One day जब हम आए हम ज़्यादा mature हुए तब one day आ गए.
Yeah.
But the test match was the real match where
The long haul, no?
absolutely you play every ball to its merit. You don't swing your back at every ball, right? So probably because of that, I got a super advantage on this one. I was holding my bat down, not swinging. I had some money here and there, which I had to obviously kind of scratch out from where they were. And I did manage to clinch this at 95 lakhs. And quote unquote, they may not be the absolute figures, it was a long time back, but I sold it at 2x in 1 year. 2x in 1 year, and a little more than 2x in 1 year. And yeah, so the point I'm making is that these opportunities keep coming. Just wait there for the blues ball. Play real estate as a test match. There is no rush. Ghai ka kaam, I always say, shaitan ka. No need to rush. Wait there. Wait there.
You think if the seller had waited, he would have gotten a better
I'm
deal?
very sure. I'm very sure. But I thought, and you need to understand this as an opportunity. You cannot sympathize with him. It's a trade you're doing. You're not, some people say that you were very nasty, but it's a trade.
Yeah.
He was happy. He still blesses me. He knew he gave it cheap to me, but no one was ready to trust him with the old building, third floor. It was me who was envisaging that this location is superb and so is the plot. And if it breaks, I will get a super house over here. Which happened.
So the real lesson is negotiate, seeing the long haul, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There is no rush.
Yeah, you went ahead of your initial plan only because you could
if I had an intention to buy this property and my money was right at that point of time, and this man did not have the desperacy to sell, then I think I would have bought it at 110. But here was situation was very classic. There was no hunger in the buyer's mind and there was no greed in the seller's mind. The seller was desperate and absolutely the buyer was non-desperate. And at this time, the buyer always has a upper hand. And then he gets what he gets. He creates the faith in the seller and then we are through. The deal went through in not more than 35 days in total. We registered and we walked out. I still remember that he had not paid his society dues of 25,000. And I did not have the heart to go and take it from him. Even today, whenever I meet him on the road, sometimes I tell him, bye. You remember? Not that I want it, but it makes me feel good. But in spite of that 30 lakh rupees haircut I gave him, I still can show off that I spared him 25,000. So it makes you feel nice. And like I said, all's well that ends well. So just wait for it. This is what negotiation is all about. See the opportunity, seize it. You don't need to go and, satiate your hunger. Go with a full stomach. Say no to things. When you're in a full stomach, you tend to not binge eat, right? So don't go on a binging spree just because you have the money. Just because I've told you, you have a salary slip, so bank will give you a head on cash. Don't rush into buying something. There's no rush at all. There is one thing over the other. You'll always have something better than the first. And so trot carefully, play it as a test match. Even if you can swap one property in 3 to 4 years from the passive income side, you are doing fabulous. It will be probably 50% of your take home in all of those 3 years, what money you will make as an upside if all of these things are judiciously followed. So,
and get up when you know it's right.
Always. Never let it go to ego.
I want you to expand a bit on going on the ego part.
So I was playing turf cricket. I was playing cricket yesterday. And I usually do every Wednesday somewhere in Bandra, very popular turf. I knocked the ball over 3 sixes. All right. They were conscious calls. They were loose balls for all the cricket people who understand what I'm saying. I knocked them at merit. And the wicket keeper from their side said, he's too overconfident. Now he's going to get nervous. He's going on hitting. He can't hit anymore. It only luring me to hit. I played all the other 3 balls till the over got over. So 18 runs had come out of the over. My story was done. You should know how to pack up. So if it goes on an ego trip, sometimes there are good builders because they're always better negotiators. They've done it several times. They may take you on an ego trip and you'll not come to know. Just be on guard. You know your price, you know your market, you have studied well. All this energy comes to you only if you had a good study. Please do not sit on an exam if you're not prepared for it. Give a medical leave certificate and stay out of it. There's no rush. So the point I make is sit over there, get it at your price. And like I said, it's not a price mom used to do at the Bajiwalas. Because the next time mom went to the Bajiwala, he didn't say onion 10 rupees. He used to say onion 20 rupees. Mom used to say 10 rupees. He used to be happy to give it at 10 rupees, right? So he had understood the entire game. So a developer, especially the developer fraternity, understands when a person is just negotiating for negotiation's sake and when he is actually well versed about the market. So he will always quote a little higher, and then you will go by the thumb rule of just making a small discounted offer and he'll be happy to sell it to you. कई बार ऐसा भी होता है बाजी वाले के पास जब आपको बोलता है कि 100 रुपए, आप कहते नहीं 80 रुपए, बोलता है ठीक है बहन जी ले जाओ, and you say shit मैं 75 बोल देती थी.
Yeah.
So those uneducated calls are not something you should be taking. Be wary, and I always tell you all, you have my Insta handles, you have my phone numbers. Pro bono, call me up, and even if you narrate to me all of that is happening, I will exactly tell you what is the right time to shake those hands. Yeah, so that's how it is. And it's a fun game. It's really, really thoroughly enjoyable. The fruit of it is profit. The excitement gives you a lot of energy, a lot of positiveness. It gives you a lot of intelligence. You feel like a bigger person. Because in spite of not having that kind of money, suddenly, you are trading for a few crore rupees up and down.
Yeah.
By only putting 20 lakhs, you could probably trade a crore rupee property in and out. It also makes you feel like you have.
What is your hack? Do you think you're a good negotiator?
I am not a realty guy, actually. The only strength I have is negotiation. I've always been
What is that one cardinal rule that you go by when you go to negotiate?
There is no cardinal rule, but you must go to people who are integral, at the same time who are in need of money. When a tiger goes to hunt and he sees a herd of gazelle, he just doesn't wildly dash into them.
Yeah.
He sits there. You know what he does? While those gazelle are grazing there,
Yeah.
he tries to target the slowest gazelle.
Yeah.
The gazelle meat is tasty. No one gazelle is tastier than the other. What is important is you will surely get the slowest gazelle. So he waits there to identify who's the slowest, probably the child and things like that, the weaker one. But integrally, he cannot be a bimar gazelle. He cannot have skin trouble. So stay away from those developers who are smart Johnnies, but those who are integral, again, it is a research you need to do, will always come back to you joyfully and give what is yours rightfully. And while they seek your money, they will give you the opportunity if you're judiciously asking for a haircut. There's a thin line between being modest and trying to skin a developer. कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है कि these developers are created, these demons, the ones you always talk about to me, these demons are created by the investors themselves. They are desperate for money. And if you are going to give them a raw deal, they will take your money. But how on earth will they complete the project if they don't have decent amount of money to go through? Let us assume he's in a bad shape and he says, let me discount it cheaper than my cost and at least take the money. Then I'll make it in the next move, next flat. And the market still don't come back to normalcy, don't go upwards, north, it's stuck there or probably going southwards. Then he sells a second flat for the same discount and same discount. Then it comes to that cliff story I've always given. That we both are on the cliff, he will push you down. He'll say, sorry, I couldn't complete it. He may probably come to most of the projects get stuck at that 80 and 85%. You are wondering, why is it? It is because certain investors' greed overpowers them. And the developer's desperation to handle that situation at that time makes him take the money. It should not go to that. I have a beautiful lawyer, I can't take her name, who does most of our redevelopment deals from the society side. She's very popular in Bandra. The guys who are watching from Carvandra know who I'm talking about. But she always tells us in a redevelopment negotiation as old tenants, please give the developer enough to complete the project. After all, he's a contractor who needs margins too. If he has the money, he will make a tasteful project.
Hmm.
So that is a thin line you trot on. You need to understand that. You have to be negotiating not ruthlessly, but with a humane touch.
Hmm.
But that does not imply that you give them charity. All this comes with the research, and when the research happens, you know the right price, which will give this project a logical end and give you a decent amount of money.